In this next section, we go and we create the perfect week formula customized for you. This is so important. This is so important because it puts boundaries on the amount of time that you're allowed to work, because we put the big rocks on the calendar first and we build the business around your life, not your life around your business. This is where a lot of people, they find that they're working too much. Everything is bleeding into their personal time because they have no boundaries in place. And so I want you to think like the last time you went bowling and you saw little kids bowling, and beside, you notice like they had boundaries up so there were no gutter balls. And it's the same with using the perfect week formula to put the big rocks in place that serve as bumpers that stop us from having gutter balls with our time. So you see right now before you a very cluttered up perfect week schedule. It's not cluttered up, it's actually beautifully designed. And you'll have a blank canvas on the next page for you to go through and design your perfect week. So I have a great client, a woman named Casey Tom, and she has a baby, a nutrition coach, obviously a great husband, and she likes to work out. She has built a 6-figure per month business working 30 hours per week using the perfect week formula customized to her life and giving her time with her daughter. Okay, so whatever you are trying to achieve here, you're going to be able to do it with the perfect week formula. So let's start with your blank screen, and we are going to, by canvas, and beautifully draw out your perfect week. Okay, so we start with personal stuff. And the whole idea of the perfect week formula came from spending time with one of my best coaching clients, a guy named Bedros Keuilian. So Bedros Keuilian, if you don't know, is the owner of Fit Body Bootcamp, which is a franchise, and he has 700 plus, maybe closer to 800, 900, even 1,000 franchises right now. That's a lot. Now, obviously you think, man, that guy must be working all the time, but he's not, and he never misses date night. So I go out and I work with Bedros. Maybe you've seen our Empire podcast, and Bedros and I, we do these shows, and oftentimes we film or we have a mastermind coaching session with our clients on a Wednesday. And as soon as 5 o'clock comes around on a Wednesday, he turns to me and he goes, Craigie, you're on your own tonight. And I'm like, what? What? I flew all the way down here from Toronto to California and you're telling me to hit the road? I'm on my own? I mean, sometimes we'll be driving down the road and he'll kick me out of the car on the side of the road at 5 o'clock because it's date night, a non-negotiable date night with his wife. Now, most people, they say, oh, I'd love to have more date nights with my partner or my spouse. And I say, okay, well, how many do you have? And they say, oh, it happens about once a month. And I go, well, how often do you want to do it? And they say, once a week. Everybody wants to do it once a week. And so I say, well, okay, all you need to do is put it on the calendar before anything else as a non-negotiable. It's that simple. So I know a lot of entrepreneurs in the fitness space, and they do not miss a workout. Why? Because working out is part of their life. It's so ingrained in their culture and their habits and their rituals, routines. And they put it on the calendar first. Yet they can't make time for sales because they don't put that on the calendar. Or they can't make time for family time. And that's what this is all about. Put the big rocks on the calendar first, personal or professional, physical, mental, whatever it is. They go on the calendar first. So we're going to build this out. So what I want you to do right now is, as you see in my example, it's Wednesday night, date night. That goes on the calendar first. It's the very first thing that goes in there. Then we also put in Sunday morning planning time. So I want you to put in some weekly reflection time and that Sunday morning planning time. I got the idea of Sunday morning planning time from one of my clients, a guy named Sharran Srivatsaa. He 10x'd a business literally in 5 years, taking a real estate company from $350 million to $3.5 billion in sales. Now, how was he able to do that? Through this type of detailed planning. But one day he went to an event with Robin Sharma. Robin Sharma is a very famous author. I remember reading The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari at age 25, and it changed my life. So anyways, Robin Sharma says you need to do your planning, your weekly planning on a Sunday morning, and make it a beautiful planning session. Don't dread it. Don't do it on Sunday evening where you think about it all day long and you're like putting it off and dreading and wasting and losing energy over the course of the day. No, do it Sunday morning where you're relaxed and sitting down with a coffee at your kitchen table and plan out a beautiful week. So you've got date night, you've got weekly planning. Now put some family stuff on there. You want to have family dinner, maybe at grandma's house. You want to have family Saturday afternoon where you go to the movies or Topgolf or skating or something fun. You're not doing enough of that, and it's because it's not on the calendar. And everybody's, Saturday afternoon comes around and everybody's scurrying off. But if you had planned it out, you wouldn't miss those special events. Now, we also need to take care of ourselves. So maybe you've been working so hard and you don't have energy and you're overweight and you're tired and frustrated. It's because you don't have self-care, physical workouts on the calendar. Maybe you have back pain, maybe you have shoulder pain. You're like, I should get a massage, but I never have enough time. You put massage on the calendar. Take care of yourself. You're a high-performance elite athlete. Just like LeBron James does not play 48 straight minutes of basketball, he makes sure there is scheduled in TV timeouts, halftime, quarter breaks, and also he goes off and is substituted out. That's because they're strategically working to build his schedule for maximum performance, just like we must do for our own performance. All right? So we put our self-care on the blocks. We make sure that we have those big blocks of family time. We have all of this on the calendar before we put a single minute of work on there. Do you see what I mean? The big rocks, building the business around the life, not trying to fit in your life, not trying to find time for what matters, because you can't find time. It's not under the bed with your ab rocker that you put there years ago. No, you have to make time for what matters. And that's what we've done. We've made time for family. We've made time for our relationships. We've made time for ourselves. Those are the first things that go on this beautiful planning schedule. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put 3 lines. We're going to put a line across for when we wake up, and we'll put the time in the left-hand side. Then we'll put the time that we go to bed, and then a third line that you may never have heard about before, but our reverse alarm time, which is 60 minutes before you go to bed. So let's say you want to get to bed at 11 o'clock, and every single night it's 11:30, and you're like, man, I got to get to bed. And you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to go to bed early. And you wake up the next morning, you're tired, and you go, man, 100% I'm going to bed early tonight. And then sure enough, now it's 11:45, it's midnight, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Still didn't get to bed on time. And you wake up the next morning even more tired, and this cycle goes on. Why? It's because you don't have a system to get to bed on time. And that's where the reverse alarm comes in so handy. So if you want to get to bed at 11 o'clock, your reverse alarm is set to go off at 10 o'clock. So you put that on your phone, and as soon as 10 o'clock comes around, the alarm goes off. And that means that you shut down all your electronics. No more laptops, no more mobile phones, no more iPads, nothing. It all gets shut down because these things keep us up. One more email. We're going to check one more email. We're going to watch one more episode of Netflix. Next thing you check 50 emails, you're all stressed out, or you've watched 18 episodes of Netflix instead of just one, and you're not to bed on time. So at 1 hour before bed, when the reverse alarm goes off, you shut it down. And then you're left with what I call old school activities, okay? You can make your lunch, you can have a bath, you can have a shower, you can, do meditation, you can read a book, you can talk to your spouse, talk to your kids, but you just can't do anything that gets you wound up through the electronic stimulation. So when you do that, simply you'll be too bored to stay up. You'll be like, I got nothing to do. I may as well go to bed. And you're going to bed on time. And especially if you read. For me, reading is like a sleeping pill. 10 minutes and I can barely keep my eyes open and I'm asleep. So that's how I get to bed on time. And that's how you're going to get to bed on time using the reverse alarm. Because if you want to have all-day energy, nothing works like going to bed at the same time every night and getting up at the same time every day. And I know that sounds boring, but if you can stick to that as much as possible, it will be a game changer for you. Absolute game changer, okay? And if you only had to stick to one of those, make sure you stick to getting up at the same time every day. Because when you start sleeping in, now all of a sudden your rhythm is thrown off and you can't fall asleep on Sunday night. You got Monday morning anxiety and you toss and turn. Monday's terrible. And then you're really tired on Monday evening, but you can't fall asleep again. And then Tuesday, you're a little bit better. And it's not until Wednesday morning you're back on track because you slept in 3 hours on Sunday morning. And then you want to sleep in on Sunday to catch up. But if you do, it only throws off the next week. So stick to your wake up time as much as possible. Have a little nap. Go to bed earlier, but don't get up later. Okay? Make that promise. That's a huge, huge shift, and it's going to help you become more successful. So as you can see, now we got that on there, but we still haven't put any work on our calendar. We're still making time for what matters. The next thing you're going to put on this calendar is a line for the end of your day, your cutoff time. So your cutoff time might be at 5 o'clock, it might be at 7 o'clock. It's when you're going to do no more work. It's going to be when you plan out your next day. Now we might do some slight modifications to it. So I have a client, a guy named Eric. He has a very young child. He has a thriving online business, and he gets done work at 5, but he feels like he's rushed in his planning if he tries to do his planning at 5. So what we did is we said, okay, let's do your planning at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I know it's not the end of the day, but that's when you're going to do your planning, and your planning goes with this cutoff time. Now, some people might, end work at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, go have dinner, and then do their planning for the next day. And that's fine too. So some slight modifications are okay. Just don't do your planning right before you go to bed. It might get you a little too wound up. But there's 3 steps to this cutoff time. And as you can see on my example, we have cutoff time at 5 o'clock. Now at 5 o'clock comes around, we might also set an alarm and say, okay, at 4:45, we're going to have alarm goes off because that's going to allow us to do the 3 things that plan us for the next day. The most successful entrepreneurs, the most successful athletes, the most successful authors all plan out their writing, their training, their work the night before. And very, very detailed. So here's how it works. What you're going to do is you're going to go through these 3 steps. The first is what I call a brain dump. So if we're doing this cutoff time at 5 o'clock and we have that little mini alarm go off at 4:45, we immediately go and we do a brain dump. And we take out, if you have the perfect day formula, you do your scripting pad, you take that out and there's an area for brain dump, or you just get a scrap piece of paper and you write down all the people that you need to contact and all the errands you need to run and all the tasks you have to finish and all the to-dos and the major project you have to get done. Say, man, everything's out of my head. It's like, I like to say that entrepreneurs and really successful people and busy parents, it's like someone had come along with one of those old school jigsaw puzzle pieces, right? And they come along with 1,000 pieces and they opened up your cranium and they poured in 1,000 jigsaw puzzle pieces into a big mess and they shut your head and walked away and said, good luck with that. And that's why you're so frustrated and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on in my head. I'm so stressed out. Well, the brain dump is like taking those 1,000 jigsaw puzzle pieces and just boom, getting them out of your head. And that finally gives you relief. So that's all you do. Brain dump is just get everything out of your head onto a piece of paper. Now, if you did that and put it in a desk drawer and walked away from it and said, I'll deal with that tomorrow, it'd be a good start, but tomorrow morning wouldn't be as successful as possible. So we need to go to the next step, which is creating a priority to-do list. Now, in our priority to-do list, what we do is we identify, hey, here are the 2 to 3 most important tasks I need to get done early tomorrow. And you've got them, okay? Here's 1, 2, maybe 3. And then everything else, okay, here are the errands I have to run, and you've organized them, and you've organized the connections you need to make. And you're pretty clear. It's like putting the jigsaw puzzle pieces together. And now you've got the picture in front of you. Great. Now, the third thing to do is what I call process planning. So earlier I mentioned the athlete, plans out their workouts, the writer plans out their writing, and the entrepreneur plans out their day. Now, I'm a writer, and I know that if I just wrote down write chapter 2 of new book, and I woke up the next morning and I went to my computer and there's a blank screen there, I might have writer's block. So Chip and Dan Heath in their book, Switch, is about improving and taking up new habits. And they say what you need to do is make the path to success as smooth as possible. So eliminate obstacles and just grease the groove as much as you can. So for me as a writer, what I'll do is I'll put down a couple bullet points, and then the next morning I wake up, there's a couple bullet points there, boom, I'll write a ton of stuff. Plus, overnight, my subconscious is working, knowing that it has to write chapter 2 and answer those few bullet points. It'll do the work overnight. I'm a big believer in that. Now, if you're a salesperson, you might say, I need to prep for those sales calls I have starting at 9 o'clock. So you do a little bit of work. Or if you have a sales presentation, you'll make sure I got to create that PowerPoint in the morning. So I'm going to put these bullet points down on these couples of slides. Great. Now your brain does the work overnight. You come up in the morning, it's easier to do. So brain dump, organize your priority to-do list, and then do a little bit of planning, process planning for the next morning, And that three-phase cutoff exercise helps make tomorrow perfect, all right? So we've got our wake-up time, our cutoff time, our reverse alarm time, our bedtime. We've got the big rocks of our personal life and our exercise in there. We've got a lot of boundaries in place, don't we? Like this is where the day has to end. This is where we have to get to bed. This is when we have all this family time. We don't have a lot of time to screw around anymore. But we're still not going to put any meetings or email or anything on this calendar. We've got a little bit more beautiful planning to do. And that starts with your morning routine. So now that's what I want you to plan out. So you wake up, let's say you're going to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to, in this example here, I have it waking up at 5 o'clock. I wake up at 4 o'clock and go right to my writing. But we're going to do some work that's called NUI work. That's what I call it, NUI work. And this comes from something, goes all the way back to Stephen Covey and all the way back to President Eisenhower, who had the 4 quadrants. And maybe you've heard about the 4 quadrants. There's non-urgent, non-important. We don't want to spend any time there. And then there's urgent but not important, and we don't want to spend time there either. That's like, seeing who won the basketball game last night. That's urgent because it won't matter tomorrow. Well, it won't matter today either, but tomorrow they won't be putting the score up on ESPN, but it's not important. Don't spend time in urgent, non-important, and don't spend time in non-urgent, non-important. Absolutely not any time there. So that leaves us with 2 categories: important but not urgent, or non-urgent important, which is NUI work, which most people avoid, and then urgent and important, which is where everybody spends their day. Super reactive. Oh, there's emails coming in. There's flooding. There's I got to get back to this person. There's an important email has come in. All of these things like urgent, important all day long, and that's activity. But the real accomplishment in life is in non-urgent but important work. Non-urgent, important. NUI work, okay? That includes writing a book. That includes creating that PowerPoint for the sales presentation. That includes creating a new course. That includes up-leveling your skills. That includes becoming a better leader. It's not urgent. That can wait till tomorrow. But it is so important. So non-urgent, important work. I want you to give me 15 to 30 to 60 minutes of work. Non-urgent, important work, first thing in the morning. And if you do that, you will move ahead in life. Here's how I know. So back when I was a broke, struggling personal trainer, I had to train clients at 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want to be a personal trainer for the rest of my life. First of all, I wanted to help people online. I wanted to sell my fitness programs online. And then, of course, I wanted to become a coach and help you. But first, I had to become that fitness expert online. Now, the thing is, I trained people from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then I had a 2-hour break to do my own workout, have lunch, and then I trained people to nearly 7 o'clock at night. If I tried to go home and work that night, I was too exhausted, and it never got done because I was spending my time in urgent, important work, the training sessions. And I never got non-urgent, but important work done, NUI work, all right? Now, here's the thing. I decided, you know what? I want to change my life. I'm going to get up and I'm going to work 15 to 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes, first thing in the morning at 4:30 in the morning, back when I was a slacker and only getting up at 4:30 in the morning. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to work on my online business. I'm going to write sales copy. I know it can wait until the weekend or next week, but I'm going to do it now in the morning. And when I did that, and I did that every single day, 6 days a week, sometimes 7, for 18 months, I set myself free. That's how I wrote the Perfect Day Formula, which allowed me to transition from the health and fitness space over to the coaching space. That's how I wrote my next book, Unstoppable, from 4:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Even though I had a full-time job, I had team members to hire, all this stuff going on, I did it then because it wasn't happening at night. So you're going to spend a bit of time on non-urgent, important work, your legacy work. Do you have to write a book? Do you have to create a new course? Do you have to improve your high income skills? Do you have to become a better leader? Maybe you want to just spend more time with the Bible. Maybe you want to spend more time with your exercise because you're really overweight, really unhealthy. That's non-urgent but important work. All right, so you're going to spend time on that first thing in the morning before you do any gratitude journaling, meditation. I believe in that stuff, but too many people are doing that stuff and not making any time for what really moves or my friend Sharran Srivatsaa says, breaks the needle in your business. If you're doing meditation, gratitude journaling, and yoga, and you never get time to write your book, you're going to be very, very disappointed in a few years from now. Or if you do all that stuff and you never up-level your skills, you never become a better leader, a better salesperson, because you're busy all day and you're too busy in the morning with all this stuff, you're going to be very disappointed. So you're going to put that on the calendar. So we still don't have any real work on the calendar. We have our non-urgent important work, but we don't have any meetings, any of that stuff. Not yet. Then you're going to do a little bit of self-care after you've done work. So it's kind of like, do not pass go, do not collect $200 until you've done that. And then you reward yourself. So I write first thing in the morning, then I do a little bit of meditation, a little bit of gratitude journaling, and then I get into the day. That's how I want you to approach it. Because right now you're frustrated and struggling, and you're stuck. I call it struggling, right? You're stuck and you're struggling. And okay, if that's not working, we go back to Marshall Goldsmith. What got you here won't get you to the next level. So if you're resisting this, if you're saying, well, I don't want to do work first thing in the morning. I want to watch some motivational videos on YouTube. Well, if you've been doing that for 2 years and you're still stuck and struggling, then it's got to change, man. It's got to change. So what I want you to do is 30 minutes, 15 at the least of non-urgent important work 6 days a week. And if you do 15 minutes, 6 days a week, that's 72 hours in a year. And you can write a book in only 3 months, 15 minutes at a time, because in 15 minutes, you can write about 500 words. That's 30,000 words in 10 weeks. And you can have that book done. So make that sacrifice. Do it. 15 to 30 minutes, first thing in the morning on that. Then you go into a little bit of self-care. And then you go into the rest of your day. So now finally, we've got all of that stuff on the calendar. We've got our personal stuff, our family stuff, our exercise. We take care of ourselves. We have a little bit of self-care. We have that non-urgent, important work in the morning. We're getting up at the same time every day. We're going to bed consistently because we have that reverse alarm. And now we put our work on the calendar. Finally. Okay, so meetings, all that stuff goes on the calendar now. Now there's one last component that I want you to consider. And it goes like this. Front load your weeks. If you're an entrepreneur, you control your schedule. So you can work 12 hours on a Monday, 10 hours on a Tuesday, 8 hours on a Wednesday, 6 on a Thursday, 4 on a Friday, and 2 on a Saturday. And if you did that, you would, as I recommend to a lot of my clients, you can take a lot of time off. In fact, I have a financial advisor client of mine who works Monday through Thursday and takes Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and has for the 18 months that I've been working with him. And it's a game changer because he works a little bit longer on Tuesday and Thursday so that he can have a full day off on Friday. And it's all about designing your perfect week, what works for you. And I really love the 2 hours of work on a Saturday morning before anybody else gets up. Do the work. It's going to be a game changer because there's no distractions, no temptations, nothing. Nothing's holding you back. And you are going to be successful. So you front loaded your week. You've got all that done. And then the last thing I'll say is we have deep work on there, which is really your magic time. So we've shown you through the time journal earlier how to create magic time, how to find your magic time, ruthlessly protect it so that you can be 3 times more productive in that short burst of time. And you put that on your calendar as well. And when everything now is on there, yeah, it looks a little busy, but it's the most productive you have been in your life. Plus, you have set boundaries, you're actually working less, and you have more time for your family. And you're making more money because you're only doing the right stuff. You stop wasting time on news websites and social media. Yeah, you might use business media, social media, for business purposes, but you're not there wasting time. So set the boundaries, set the cutoffs, use this plan, and it'll be a game changer. All right, so you're going to go to your blank screen now. You're going to go to your page, and you're going to craft out your perfect week formula. All right, so fill that in next, and then we're going to jump into section 2.